we need to set very specific rules fairly early on so that the audience understands, and then you just don't break those rules. So that as you're moving in, to the later episodes, you don't feel that the characters are safe here.
I have made lots of friends. Even so, I am ready for spring break.
It's great to see you. So season 4 is really such a love letter to 80s horror. So we give 2 to each, but what are your top 4 horror movies from the 80s that you really infused or really influenced this season?
Well, the most obvious one is Nightmare on Elm Street, but I have to also say Nightmare on Elm Street Dream Warriors, the third Nightmare on Elm Street.
Can we say 2? You're already eliminated 2, though, but it's fine.
That's fine.
That's right. Yeah.
And then I would say, Hellraiser is a big one. I mean, Pinhead really freaked us out when we were younger, and so we really wanted to imbue Vecna with some Pinhead vibes. And then lastly, this isn't 80, I think it's 1990, but it's close enough, which is the It miniseries where Tim Curry is Pennywise the Clown. That haunted our dreams for many, many weeks after we had seen it. So I think in terms of inspirations, those are probably the biggest ones for this year, just because the monsters are sentient, they're intelligent, but there is also something weird in that you can't quite fathom about all of those monsters, and we wanted to try to capture that feeling with this season.
Yeah, Clive Barker and Stephen King do it so well. So we're never going to be able to hit what they did, but it was just trying to evoke the feeling that their creations conjured in us, and so that was the goal. It was like, okay, that's the bar. How do you get there? What did they do? Why was it effective? So lots of talk about those guys.
Well, I felt all of them. I'm so glad that you confirmed what I've watched.
Good.
So I also, you guys, Hawkins is really building its own cursed mythology as we move into this season. And I just wanted to ask from a writer's perspective, what are the core building blocks of really getting a great cursed mythology built and provide, kind of laid out to everybody?
We talked about it a lot, obviously, in terms of how it would work, how the curse would work, how to break it. So, I mean, it took us a long time, I think, to figure out the mechanics of it, because what you want to do, especially because so much of this takes place in the mind, and there's a danger of it just feeling like anything can happen. It's like where there are, so it's like, you just need to set, or this was what we found, we need to set very specific rules fairly early on so that the audience understands, and then you just don't break those rules. So that as you're moving in, to the later episodes, you don't feel that the characters are safe here. So I don't know, it's interesting, but that was one of the more challenging aspects, I would say, of the season, but also exciting. It was just so freeing to write stuff in the mind. I mean, we also talked a lot about Inception. Yeah. We talked a lot about Cell, the Jennifer Lopez movie from the 90s. So, which I think is underrated. Yeah. And anyway, it was fun and that scared me a lot. Yeah. So we talked about those movies and what worked about them, and a lot of it we realized was let's just set out the rules, write it all out. Let's not be wishy-washy about it, and let's treat and then the audience hopefully will be in for the ride.
So then lastly, you guys have such a great alternative 80s playlist. You hear a lot of the same needle drops, and you guys don't do that. And there's a couple needle drops that are really necessary. It's hard to write to something and go, oh my God, are we going to get it? Was there a song that you wrote into it and went, man, whatever we have to do to get this song just so it works in our story this season?
Well, I mean, the big one this year is Kate Bush's Running Up That Hill. The other big one in the show was The Clash, Should I Say, Should I Go, on season 1. This is even more important to this season, and it was a long search with us and our music supervisor to find that right song, and we played around with a lot of different things, but ultimately that it just felt right in terms of it had a cinematic quality to it. Kate Bush's vocals are just so emotional, haunting, and lyrically, it made sense with Max's journey and her story. And so once we landed on that, we were just like, we have to get this to work.
There wasn't a backup.
There was no backup,
No.
and luckily, and we wrote it. You know, it's all over the show, of course. But you know, you have to get Kate Bush has to approve it, and she has to watch the scenes and approve it. And luckily, she has just been truly, truly incredible and supportive. And we just couldn't feel any luckier, because it just this season honestly would not have worked without that song.
Yeah, I love it. And it also recontextualizes the lyrics, which is so amazing. Like, it's really hard to do that with a song as classic as that, but then to really have it work with what you guys did, super impressed. But thank you so much. I can't wait to see what the rest of the season does. Amazing work, guys. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
having us.